Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ask Dr. Michael Dansinger. Today, we're tackling a challenge that many of us face in maintaining a diabetes friendly diet in social situations. Whether you're cooking for family or dining out with friends, sticking to your healthy diet goals, it can be a little bit tricky. That's why we've brought in our expert, Dr. Michael Dansinger, a nationally recognized authority on dietary counseling and diabetes management. Dr. Dansinger is here to share practical strategies for navigating these tough social eating scenarios while keeping your health in check. So, why don't we dive in and learn how to balance good nutrition with a fulfilling social life? Dr. Dansinger, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kim. Great topic today.
Oh, we get so many questions about this because we have patients that will come in and say, well, I cheated it on Saturday and I cheated on Sunday and oh, I cheated again. I had to have a glass of wine or two glasses of wine because what else are you going to do when you go out for cocktails with your friends? Or what are you going to do when the grandkids come over? And are you going to fix this meal for them and this meal for you and this meal for your husband? So it is really tough to stick with a diet when you have so many different conflicting interests and also temptations. When you see someone else eating something that you desire, that makes it even tougher to stick to your diet. So, how can someone with diabetes initiate the conversation with friends and family about their dietary restrictions without feeling like a burden? I think that that's a good place to start.
Yeah, great question. So, socializing with friends and family and trying to stay healthy is challenging, and it's a skill set. And a lot of it is setting yourself up for success, seeing it as a skill set that you can get better and better at over time. So you want your friends and family to know that you are making an effort to stay healthy when you're with them. And so you have to know your audience. You kind of have to know what you do and don't want to say. So there, you could say 100 things wrong, and but you want to say what's right for you. And usually it's just a matter of saying something like, "I'm working hard to eat right and to stay healthy, and I have a plan with my doctor that says I'm not going to eat as much candy as I used to. I'm not going to eat as much cheese as I used to. I'm not going to eat as many French fries as I used to. And occasionally I'll eat these things, but it would be a help for me if you could support me in my goals when we're together." What you don't want to say is, you don't want to burden, loved ones and make rules for them. So these rules are about yourself, and you're asking for support rather than, you know, telling them they can't eat French fries when they're with you. As
Come
an
on,
example.
Dr. Danzinger. I know you want a French fry. You could just have one French fry. What is one French fry going to
Right.
hurt you? Come
So
on.
yeah, so that's boundary testing, and it's a natural human instinct, and you just want to know.
Yum, it's so good. Look at this.
Also, so different people have different rules. So some people never want to eat anything unhealthy if they can help it, and others, follow the 90% rule, and they're going to eat healthier when they're alone under circumstances they control than when they're out socializing. And so for many people, the solution is to have, two or three French fries from their friend's plate, or a piece of cake at a, birthday celebration, or just a few nibbles, and to share a dessert. So different people have different rules, and nobody has to be perfect. And nobody has given up you know unhealthy food 100% for the rest of their lives. And so you want to, but if it was so easy, everyone would be able to do it, no problem. This is a real problem for people, and practical tips are very helpful.
As long as the I'm going to continue my diet tomorrow definitely becomes today versus continuing to be that trend of tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day.
When socializing, it's always helpful to plan in advance. When
Okay.
went to strategize. And so if you're going to a restaurant, if you can pick the restaurant, that is an advantage for you. If you can look at the menu ahead of time online, which you can often do, is very helpful. And so um, there's no question that willpower is needed sometimes, right? You look at the menu and you might see 10 things you would rather eat than a salad with chicken or the fish with vegetables. But if you take the high road and order the healthier thing, you're still going to walk out of the restaurant feeling satisfied in most cases. And so sometimes just planning ahead, deciding in advance that you're not even going to look at the menu when you get there because you've already decided you're getting, protein and vegetables, and that you're not going to get dessert or you're going to get fruit for dessert. All those strategies can make a really big difference in a successful versus an unsuccessful social occasion.
So resisting that temptation to eat something you shouldn't, it is all about preparing. It's about having the conversation and being respected by your friends, right? It's allowing yourself maybe to have one or two just to maybe satisfy that craving just a little bit. Any others?
So balancing healthy and unhealthy. So if you know that you're going to have a little bit of sweetness, you want to have protein at the same meal, and that helps, keep minimize the spike in the blood sugar. Um, uh, Being mindful of the quantities, just having a small amount, swapping, so replacing something that's obviously unhealthy with something that is healthier. So, for example, a very common approach, at a restaurant is I'll have the fish or the chicken or and instead of getting it with the mashed potatoes and the corn, you might get it with, you know, healthier, less starchy vegetables. So that's a very common approach. So I'll have fish with the spinach, and can you give me double the spinach instead of the rice that would otherwise go with it? So, um, I have six main strategies, planning, avoiding, um,
Avoiding.
de-
That's the
right?
toughest.
Use willpower to not eat it, or avoid a place where you're gonna eat the wrong thing. Just politely declining. When people offer you and when they test your boundaries, you just be want to be polite about it. You want to use substitutions. You want to limit, and you want to balance. So those are kind of the my six themes for how to minimize the damage.
I'm curious about reading these restaurant menus to make the best choices for managing, blood sugar levels. I would imagine that in most restaurants, it's really tough to find a lot of vegan options because a lot of our patients are following the Dean Ornish or Estelin diets that are all whole natural foods and they don't include any meats. And so you end up with either a big plate of broccoli or you end up getting some sort of pasta, which is, it actually works against you.
So yes, I agree 100%. So choosing, if you can choose the restaurant that has a favorable menu option, you go with it. And on a vegetarian plan, so most restaurants do have, vegetarian offerings. They might not have vegan necessarily, but they usually have vegetarian. And those vegetarian offerings are often very starchy. And so you would need a very low fat version to be able to, improve your diabetes on a vegetarian diet. So the vegetarian diets for diabetes, like Esselstyn, Ornish, those are very, very low in fat, and that's what makes those plans work. And so you'd need a restaurant that provides whole grains or beans and vegetables with minimal fat. And so you can, waiters are accustomed to people asking for modifications. That's normal to ask for it your way. But most places most most places can accommodate people who are trying to eat carefully and steer clear of the places that don't have anything for you.
And if you have any questions, the easiest place to go on the menu would be probably the salads. I always end up getting salads and sides. And a lot of times you can find some really good sides. Like I love the Brussels sprouts. Absolutely love. I don't like cooking them at home, but every time I go out, getting the roasted Brussels sprouts are absolutely delicious.
Right. Yes. And I like spinach and green beans.
Oh,
Most
that's good.
Yeah, most places have salad with protein options and or some version of protein and vegetable.
Yeah.
Asian restaurants often have stir-fried, vegetables with shrimp or with, chicken breast. And most ethnicities can the options are there. The challenge is usually you're just not in the mood for another salad with chicken, or
That's the problem.
that
That is the
that's
problem.
the
You
bigger
nailed
problem.
it.
The
You nailed it.
problem isn't so much that at a gathering or at a restaurant that an absence of something that you can eat. The bigger problem is you're celebrating or you're out and you're not in as strict of a mindset as you would normally be at home, and that's the problem is there's a big difference between knowing what to do versus doing it consistently day after day,
Yeah.
week after week, month after month. And so people know that they can get the salad with the chicken or the fish with the vegetables, but they don't because they're more interested in the meatloaf with mashed potatoes and
Mm.
corn, and their willpower is weak. And the antidote to that is just to remind yourself why your health matters. um, so you should have a list of your reasons, 5 good reasons that you carry with you as a list right on your phone so that you can remind yourself what's at stake. And then you can use, my six, themes of how to minimize the damage: planning, avoiding, declining, substituting, limiting, and balancing.
Surprisingly, one of the easiest restaurant types that I have found for people that are on these types, any type of cardiovascular, vascular diet, diabetic diet, are actually Asian restaurants because they have quite a few. I mean, you have family style, so everyone can pick and choose what they want, and you can always get, and everyone always seems to get, a couple of orders of some sort of steamed or stir-fried vegetables. And my dad and I always get, and it's a part of our rules, we'll get two steamed different types of vegetables, and then we'll get something a little bit more fun. It could be a sauteed eggplant and a little bit of, greasier stuff, or it could be the walnut prawns, and it does have that little bit of mayonnaise base. That's a little bit of a cheat, but the other two are really good. And the fact that they do steam a lot of the vegetables, and at least you can ask for it in those types of restaurants, is really good.
Yes, absolutely. Mexican's another one that can be very successful for people, sort of a taco salad, not in the big crunchy fried, taco shell bowl, but the lettuce and tomato and
Lots of beans.
beans, yes, and a healthy protein option like chicken. So that can Mexican restaurants can work very well if you're careful about it. It starts with when they bring the chips with the salsa to politely decline the chips, or if you're with people who are eating it, you just have to use some willpower and try not to eat that.
Our Mexican restaurant that my dad and I frequent, they'll serve us, they actually have cucumbers. So they'll serve us cucumber chips with our
Oh,
salsa. And that's delicious.
wow. Very
So
good.
it's worth asking, right? And that's also something that if you're going to a Mediterranean restaurant and getting instead of getting the bread or the wrap, you can actually get cucumbers or vegetables to dip in the hummus.
Great
S-
point.
So what about people with diabetes navigating buffets or potluck style gatherings where they might not know all of the ingredients in every single dish?
Yes, buffets or potlucks are a total guessing game. And so, one thing you can do is steer clear of complex dishes that you have no idea what's going on in them. Or you can ask about that. So oftentimes you can get information, at a potluck, you can find out who made what, and you can politely ask. You can try to avoid going there when you're famished. So many people will go to a social occasion having intending not to eat that much, and it's easier to avoid overindulging when you've already had some protein and vegetables an hour before.
Mhm.
So there's no one perfect way to avoid the unknown at a buffet, um, but or a potluck. But if you don't necessarily want to just throw caution to the wind and eat as much as you want of whatever you want, because that could be a 2,000 calorie meal right there.
Well, that brings me to my next question about strategies for managing portion control. That is you. That's the hardest, I think, when you're going out to a restaurant or you're at a potluck.
Yeah,
It's
so if there's a little something, you take a tablespoon or a teaspoon of this and a little bit of that, and you could use a small plate, and you can just decide in advance, I'm only going to taste four things, and I'm just going to have a little bit. And so I'm going to pick, the four things that are going to provide the right balance for me, and I'm going to leave it at that. And so if you kind of make up rules in advance to help protect yourself, that can help. I will acknowledge all of these tips and tricks are difficult to consistently execute in the heat of the moment, when especially when you're hungry, when there's the aromas and the intrigue of new foods that you've never tried or new menu items. It's difficult, but it's a skill set, and with practice people can get better and better at this. And so what you want to do afterwards is ask yourself, was there anything I would have done differently if I had it to do over again? And that's how you learn. So you don't want to beat yourself up afterwards, for any errors. Those are learning opportunities so that you can get better and better at this skill set.
And I think you kind of answered my final question that I had, but about advice that you might have for people that, I mean, when you're on a diet like this and you're dealing with these social situations, it can be stressful and you can feel really anxious. And do you have any additional tips for overcoming some of those feelings and just getting past them so that you can have fun?
Set realistic goals for these types of encounters. And when you set reasonable small goals, then you feel like you're successful. If you just say, if you make an unrealistic goal and think to yourself, I'm going to go there and eat nothing, or I'm going to go there and only eat salad, or, you know, then if you set a goal and that's you're unlikely to succeed at, then you can feel like, oh, I'm never going to, it's a lost cause. When you set goals that are small but realistic, then you feel like you've succeeded in that. And then you can set another goal and more ambitious goals and get better and better. And then you get into a positive cycle. So, nobody's perfect. It's, progress, not perfection. And, you just see it as something everyone has learned skills in their lives. And if you see this managing social occasions as a skill set, that you can, you know, make incremental progress, then that's the way to see it and the way to avoid feeling like a failure every time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Michael Dansinger. And if you want to see more incredible content and learn so much from Dr. Michael Dansinger, make sure you like this video, subscribe to his channel. It's youtube.com/at Michael Dansinger MD. That's at Michael Dansinger MD. Make sure to subscribe to his channel. You can also subscribe to the Way to My Heart's channel, and you'll have that and more on our site for diabetes as well as peripheral artery disease. Next week, Dr. Michael Danziger, we are talking about genetically modified foods. Are they friend or foe? Any final thoughts before we head out?
Kim, thanks for the opportunity to help spread the word about diabetes reversal and nutrition. And the best, many people are capable of reducing their medications or getting their diabetes into remission fully. Many of my patients do that, and it requires coaching and effort, and it's difficult. But most people can make tremendous progress in their diabetes. And so don't give up hope. And thanks for the opportunity to have this conversation today.